Okay. And I don't know what you can see because what I can see is just one cam. All right. You know, I've used Adobe Connect tens and tens of times, and you can see me twice. All right. So that's very interesting. Who knows why, right? But that's double the fun. All right. So let's get started with the session. And I like the Erico. Thank you. We'll take that. It's still wrong, but it is all right. Let's go on that. Right. So thank you very much for the introduction, Haywan. And lucky us because we can get 2 of Mark, right? Oh, Andy. Maybe 1 of me is enough, but today 2 is even better. Right. So we're going to start with a song. So first, let me introduce you to Dora and her family. Look, here's Dora. And here's Dora's mommy. What's Dora's mommy holding? Not what, who? Wow, it's a baby boy on Dora's mommy's lap. And here's Dora's daddy. He's sitting next to Dora's mommy, and he's holding another baby. So let's get to know this family through a song. So please, everyone, listen and watch me. And this is like a music video for you guys, because apparently you can see me twice. So Haywan, please, can you play the song? And let's listen. And I'm going to do some actions as I listen. Haywan, please play the song. Okay, next is going to be Daddy.
This is my daddy. This is my daddy. I love my daddy and me. My daddy's in my family.
A lot of my's there. Now I'm going to pause. All right, and you can hear the song. And something that's quite nice is to do action songs. But if you really want to give your students a challenge, you can do something called a drop-a-word song. So I'm just going to sing this. If you're ready to, you're having an overwhelming day because you're seeing me twice, but now you're going to hear me sing, which is even worse, I can tell you. So a drop-a-word song. I'm going to take one song from the song, one word from the song, and I'm going to drop it, which means I'm not allowed to sing it, but I will still do the action. So I'm going to start with this, all right? So if you watch me, my students would do this. Is my mommy? Is my mommy? I love my mommy and me. My mommy's in my family. So what's another word I should drop now? How about my? And obviously it's really, really difficult. You can try this, everyone, wherever you are. Not in a coffee shop because you'll get thrown out, but if you're at home. So this time I drop the words this and my. I must still do the actions, but I cannot sing. And it's very, very challenging. Ready? One. I'm going to do daddy, the next verse. Is daddy. Is daddy. I love daddy and me. Daddy's in family. And then we can go on and on and on. And each time we have to drop words and the students are doing more actions. And it takes a lot of concentration to kind of not say the word. So that is a very traditional type of song. Oh, let's kind of play you out with the rest there.
This is my sister.
So we know action songs.
My sister and
But think about that relationship between the actions and the words.
This is my brother.
My brother. And so
This is my brother.
I love
my
brother and me.
my
Brothers in family. Hooray! Okay, thank you very much, Haywan. So that was an introduction, an activity with a song. Right. dropper words. Now I'm getting a message. Should I change? Keep the video running. I mean, even if people can see it twice, because I will be using actions for acting. Okay, so the video will be very, very useful. That's to our moderators. Please keep the video. So we've done a little bit of TPR, total physical response already, and we know some benefits of total physical response are that students get more input, right? Because they're remembering words through words and body language and music. And music is rhythm and melody and lyrics combined. And all of those things, you've got rhythm, melody, you've got words, you've got actions. And it's like all together, they form a very, very, very strong memory. And it's great doing action songs because students have different ways to remember the language. So if I do an action, students remember, oh, this. If I do, students remember, my. If I sing, students can, as another way, the music to remember, oh, this is my mommy. So lots of different ways to remember with action songs. Okay, later we're going to do some actions with the video. But for now, let's kind of take a look. We've just done, this is a unit from Dora the Explorer, Learn English with Dora the Explorer, level 1. There are 8 lessons, and we're not going to go through a unit, but you know, we've just done a song in lesson 3. There's another song later in the unit, right? Crossing the road safely. And we've already heard some of the key unit language. This, mommy, daddy, brother, sister. Okay, and we'll hear that language through the unit. What we're going to focus on for the rest of the session is telling stories, and telling stories using animated videos. So we're going to start this by showing you a clip. And so you're going to see about a 30-second clip, and it's actually from kind of the end of the story, right? Okay, so just Haywan's just launching it. As you watch it, I would like you to just think about things from your teacher's perspectives, and particularly think about the language you hear, think about the story, and also please try and think about how you might get your students to interact with the story. Now, if you're continuing to teach in a classroom, you can think about how you would show this video to your students using a projector or iWhiteboard. But equally, if you're using a platform to show video to students, like Zoom or something, how would you get students to interact over the internet? So think about that. And if you could play the video, please. Haywan.
Did the baby come?
Yes.
A baby, a baby, a baby. Is it a boy? Is it a girl?
Why don't you look and see?
Look, there are 2 babies. Twins. A baby boy and a baby girl. Now I have a baby brother and a baby sister.
Okay, thank you. Lucky Dora. Okay, so if you can take away the video, please, Haywan. And just, you know, if you feel like it, please share in the chat box any thoughts you have about the language. So what are the, you know, language is interesting because there will be some keywords which maybe your students could learn, but there might be some other words which your students might not learn. So think about the language there and think about interaction. Okay, you don't need to type your thoughts into the chat box, but you certainly can if you would like to. But
Mark, we lost your voice and
hello,
camera.
Haywan. Hello,
Yes, we
Haywan.
can hear you.
Okay, not sure what happened there, but I'm back.
Okay.
So am I back with 1 camera or 2?
Still 2.
Oh, all right. Oh, never mind. Yeah, what we have there in the video, you just saw a 30-second clip, but the videos are typically about 10 minutes long, and students get a full a full story. So let's see. So the first thing is, that's a lot of English. And the most important aspect of watching animated stories in English courses is that they should be, students are getting lots of language, but in a very, very highly contextualized manner, so students can see the story, right? Even if students don't understand anything, they should be able to follow the story. Okay, and then they'll hear language being used naturally. So that's language for reception. And it's a lot of very, very good exposure to very, very natural English. But of course, we wouldn't expect our students to be able to produce all of the language that they hear. Okay, so that's the main thing. Students at this age need lots of exposure to natural language. Students will follow the story and interact with the characters. So this is something quite special about the whole Nickelodeon series, Dora the Explorer, and about Learn English with Dora the Explorer, is that Dora will very, very often do things like pause and look at the audience, right? Look at the students, and they will ask the students to interact with her, to participate. Often Dora will ask the students for help, all right, to solve a problem. And this brings the whole experience to life for children. Dora almost becomes their real-life friend, and the students get a lot of satisfaction and a feeling of achievement for helping Dora and her friends overcome problems they encounter. Here Dora has to get from wherever she is, through a forest, through a nut farm, and all the way to home to see her new baby brother and sister. Okay, so students can help Dora with that. But also you'll get some keywords and phrases repeated, which we would expect students to produce. So in the clip you saw, which was to do with number 7 and number 8, right, these two pictures, what language do you remember hearing? What were the key words, do you think? So I see. So twins, it was one. But, and twins is a nice word to learn, but the more important words there were baby, so we had baby girl, baby boy, brother, sister. Back to the unit language we heard in the song, right? This is my brother, this is my sister, this is my mommy, this is my daddy. So that's the kind of words which are repeated throughout a unit and which will really kind of stick. So there's this mixture of the broader exposure to naturalized language, but with targeted words for students to hear again and again and again until they start using them. Right, now I have some tips here for how you can watch an animated story with your students. And as I go through the tips, think about whether you're showing this video through a platform online or whether you're showing it in the classroom. Do these apply and how do these apply? So my tip is, first, if your learners are watching the story and enjoying it, there's nothing wrong with just letting them watch it and enjoy it. Sometimes teachers jump in because they want students to be clear about everything, but actually, very young learners, they're quite happy just following a story and not understanding everything, and it's fine. And the more they do that, the more exposure they are getting. Okay, but you can pause. And the key is to pause in order to help your students engage with the story. So the principle is, don't pause, don't hit the pause button because you want to test your students, all right? Because if you stop every 3 seconds and say, oh, look at this frame. What color is Boots' tail? Or, how many lizards do you see? Or iguanas, actually, do you see? Or how many trees are in the background? That's kind of like testing the students. It may not be relevant to the story. So when you pause, you only pause to get students to engage with the story. So here's when you pause, and the Dora videos make this very, very clear for you. When Dora looks at the students and asks for help, for example, here she needs to take the right path, and she'll pause and turn to the camera and say, which path should we take? Should we take the path on the left, the path in the middle, or the path on the right? And what's going to happen is that there'll be a pause. And what you can do is then you can hit the pause button, right, to make that pause even longer. And you would say, and give your students a chance to say, the left, the middle, the right. And when your students have kind of agreed, then you say, well, let's see if it's right. And then you play again, and Dora, what she'll do is something like this. The path on the left. That's right. Thank you. And she'll kind of like, she'll make the students feel really, really good about making the right choice, kind of using kind of logical thinking to make the right decision. And she'll say thank you because she's very polite. She's a role model for good behavior and good attitude. And she'll thank the students. And that's an example of how you can use pause, not to interrupt the story, not to test students, but to make sure the students are even more involved by interacting with the story. Okay? So that's very easy because Dora, she just looks at the camera for a long time. Okay? If your students are very quick, they might be quick enough to answer and you don't need to pause. But you're the teacher and you'll sense when. Especially online, this might be where you pause a bit longer because things take longer online, usually. Okay, the next point. When Dora asks the audience to do something, so Dora might sometimes ask the audience to point. Sometimes she loses something and she needs to find something that's hidden in the background picture. So she might say, where's the blue balloon? Can you see the blue balloon? And then the students will be going, oh, it's there. Then you can pause and let the students kind of point it out to you or say where it is if it's online. Okay, or sometimes Dora gets the students to jump or something like that. It's always to help her on her adventure. And then the final point on this slide is when Dora says something, it's fun. So Dora will sometimes say chants like, we did it, hooray. That's where students, again, you can pause, they can join in and jump up and down and shout, we did it, hooray. Okay, so the principle is often teachers feel like we feel like we want to control the audio, the video. So we make sure students understand everything perfectly. We check they understand. But that's not really the principle. The key principle is interaction. It's engagement. And we pause only to help that. Okay, so that's maybe a kind of a different way of thinking about what we do when we pause videos. Next, what can teachers, and here's where you might think teachers and parents do, after watching an animated story. Okay, so let me just take a sip here. You can look at the points for a second and I'll come back and talk about them. A bit of a dry throat. Thank you. So after watching an animated story, again, I'd advise to not ask test-style questions. So teachers are so used to saying, okay, so after the story, the students have the book. Right, and the book has a simplified version of the story in 8 picture frames. So it's very tempting for teachers to say, "Oh, look at this picture. Everyone, can you tell me what do you see? What do you see?" And then one student does this, Dora, and then that's it. The other students are doing nothing, right? So don't test students, especially kindergarten. I mean, you want them to be happy learning English, not to feel like when they watch something, it's entertaining and interesting and adventurous and fantastic fun like Dora. Don't turn it into a test, please, because then they get the idea that, oh, I'm watching this video and I have to memorize things so I pass a test. Please don't turn this beautiful video with a wonderful character into a test. Instead, you can use pictures or story cards. Now, if you're teaching online, we have the classroom presentation tool. You can share the screen. What you can do is kind of you just click on a picture frame and it goes, it kind of pops up, right? So you can focus on one picture easily. But if you're still in the classroom and some of us aren't sure where we are these days, we also have story cards. Okay, so you can. I haven't cut these up. Okay, but it's the story cards, it's the pictures from the story. I'll show you what's on the back of those, which is interesting, in a minute though. Let's go through here. So don't ask test-style questions. Instead, look at the pictures, but focus on characters' emotions. Okay, that for me is a key to involving students in the story. Because what do stories have? Stories have characters, and these are characters that students can identify with. So that's a very important way for me to get the students kind of mentally engaged in the story. Use the characters, and don't ask, oh, where is Dora? I mean, don't over ask, where is Dora? Oh, what color are Dora's shoes? What is it as a human? What is the human experience? It's about emotions, isn't it? Partly. And so, especially in stories where sometimes Dora kind of looks a bit worried or she's kind of really happy, you can say, oh, wow, look at picture number 8. Oh, how does Dora feel? And the students will say, oh, she's happy. Why is she happy? And then students, if they watch the story, they'll naturally want to tell you, which gets them speaking. Oh, because da 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 da. Right. So very often as a teacher and as a parent, actually, I now have a 3-year-old kind of daughter. It's very similar, kind of getting her, not interrupting her enjoyment of the story, but just pretending like, oh, why is she feeling happy here? Oh, I wonder why she looks a bit kind of scared here. And my daughter wants to explain to me, right? And it's the same with my students. So focus on the emotions. That gets, and it can get students curious about characters too. Thank you. Thank you, T. Think aloud. So sometimes if you ask a question to students, by the way, especially online, if there's a lag, you ask a question, and it might take too long for the answer to come back. So you can wonder aloud. And this gives students an example of thinking through a story. So something I might think aloud here is, I might think, oh, I wonder, it could be I wonder why or I wonder what, right? Who's this? It's Dora's daddy. Oh, look, they're talking on the phone. I wonder what Dora's daddy is saying. And by the way, can you guess? I wonder, and you're going to get curious, right? I wonder what Dora's daddy is saying. But you can work it out logically, and your students will. 1, they've watched the story, but 2, they have to remember it and rethink through the story. And you'll be thinking here, working out that, well, Dora's daddy's saying, oh, I come home quickly. Your mummy's just had babies or something like that, right? And so that gets the students really kind of contributing and engaged because you're thinking aloud. I wonder why, I wonder what. You can ask what's happening in a picture, but I mean, even with older students, I found that if I get them to read a passage and then say, okay, here are 5 comprehension questions, you need to get 4 out of 5 to pass. It's sad because it turns reading into a kind of test preparation where students don't really read to enjoy, they read to memorize answers and just get a high score. So actually, I don't do that with any age of learner if I have the freedom not to. Rather, I find a great way of checking if students have understood the story is to look at a picture and say, oh, what's happening in this picture? And students will tell me, oh, Dora's in a nut farm, but it's very busy and she can't cross. Oh, right. So why did she go to the nut farm? What happened before that? Oh, her daddy called her. Her daddy phoned her and told her to come home. Oh, okay. I forget what happened after that. What happened after that? Oh, well, Dora had to hold hands to cross the road, right, to be safe going through the nut farm. So that's, if students can answer me those questions, it completely shows that they've understood the story in terms of, the main events, the sequencing. And honestly, it shows that they comprehend the story much, much better than a list of comprehension questions saying, what color is Dora's mommy's top? Because who cares about that? That's just an incidental detail. So we focus on the events of the story. That's kind of a skill we're training here. Now the final point here is everyone knows TPR, right? So you can do TPR. You can do kind of clever TPR. So TPR is, Pretend you're a lion. Rawr. Slightly more thoughtful TPR. Pretend you're a happy lion. Rawr. Pretend you're a very late lion rushing to work. Rawr. Right, and that's so you can build TPR into something more thoughtful and interpretive, and this is the stepping stone to acting. So what I want to show you is how I like to use TPR, because before students act. Because the way these lessons work is that students get 2 whole lessons with the story. The first lesson is based around watching the video, and they watch it several times, right? And there's activities, coloring and stuff as well. But they come back to the same story in the next lesson, and there's a very, very simplified version of the story which they're going to act out. So a really nice bridge between watching a story and then acting it out is the acting skill of observing body language and copying it. So I'm going to tell you, I will be Dora, and this frame is so small, so I'll kind of try my best. But okay, which picture Dora am I? Am I the Dora in picture number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 all the way up to 8? So if you look at my body language, it's very difficult because I've actually got a kind of frame there. What number picture is that? 8. That's right. Okay. And then students will say number 8, and then students can play a game in little groups of 3 or online sharing screens. It is more difficult, this one online. Okay, but I know there's not much I can do. Either my camera is too small or I'm too big. I think it's my camera's fault, don't you? And then another one is this. Okay, which picture number is this? Can you see? Number 1, right? Okay, there we go. And so that's a nice game for students because it really makes them look at the story pictures carefully and not just think about, oh, that's Dora, but what's Dora doing? What action is she doing? And why? And how does that relate to the story and her emotions? And that's great because if they can do that successfully, next, when they act out the story, they've already kind of half done it, to be honest. So if we just go back and review, and think about these very quick activities. Think about, some are easier to do online than others, but also, sometimes in many countries, for younger students, you really need support from the parents, right? You really need support from the parents. So think about this, which of these activities could parents do as well as teachers? No, teachers are professionals. Parents shouldn't be expected to be like pro teachers, but can you help parents to help you by saying, okay, maybe before I teach, look at the pictures with your son or daughter and ask about the emotions. It doesn't have to be in English. It can be in L1. Ask about the emotions that they see. The parent can think aloud in their own language. Oh, I wonder what Dora's daddy's saying. The parents can certainly, in their own language, ask, oh, what's happening here? What happens next? Okay. And then the fourth one, a bit more difficult, but I do think that parents can kind of role play a bit with their sons and daughters. But, we're thinking about, with younger students, you do need parental support. And so maybe teachers can kind of almost train parents to help them read stories. Okay, I think June is going to talk more about that in the next session, so I'll leave that off. So we've just done TPR for acting, which Dora am I, and you can see how it's going to help, because next, as I said, in lesson 6, there's the video with lots of kind of language. In lessons, that's for receptive, right? All that exposure to natural English. But in lesson 7, it's the same story, but students listen to a much easier version, which they then act. And I'm not going to play you it, but I can show you it. Because if you're online, you can use the classroom presentation tool and you can highlight the pictures, right? But if you're in the classroom, we also have this, right? And just to show you the principle, it's the story cards. Okay, and I know it's difficult to see things on a webcam, especially as I'm split, which is, I'll get over it, but that's the most bizarre thing I think that's happened to me on Adobe. And let's see. So on one side you get the picture, And on the other side, the teacher gets the script. And so this is what, on the audio track, students will hear Dora saying, hold hands and look. So you're going to play that. You're going to show students the picture. Then you're going to play the audio. And the students hear, hold hands and look. Hold hands and look. Then students can copy that. Hold hands and look. And there's even an action suggested. So children clasp their hands together and put their hand above their eyes to look for something. And so eventually they're going to join. Hold hands and look. Hold hands and look. Now in a classroom, well, you know, if everyone's hands are clean, they could hold hands together, couldn't they? And then look like they're crossing a road together, and then say the language. Hold hands and look. Online, yeah, students are going to have to kind of adapt, hold hands with a parent, clasp their own hands. But students are good at pretending, luckily, and they can certainly do this. So you can see here there are also questions for the teacher. I mean, in the classroom is designed so that the teacher doesn't have to memorize everything, but they can show students, and hey, I can see on the back questions I can ask, and the script and the action I can teach my students. Okay, so it's very easy. You can see it's a much, much easier version of the story, so students can use key language, and they can speak, and they can act out the story, and you teach them one action and word at a time until they build it up, and then they can act out the whole story. All right, the whole story. And so as we kind of looking at the time, about 5 minutes left. So we can build up from miming. So we did TPR at the beginning. We know TPR, and that's a good place to start for drama and pretend play, role playing. And you know, children who are 3, 4 years old, even if they're alone with toys and dolls, they're already role playing anyway. Naturally, I say dolls. Of course, I mustn't forget who do I have here to help me? Can you guess? Can you guess who it is? Hi, Dora. But Dora, where's your friend Boots? Oh, really? Oh, okay. But I can't because I only have 2 hands. I need one for the mouse. Okay, quickly. Hi, Boots. Okay, Boots is going away. Oh, and now for some related magic, I can use the mouse again. Okay, so you can help me, Dora. Okay, so students will mime, and then we can build it up to listening and acting out a story. Okay, and that takes a bit of time. And in other areas of the unit for Dora the Explorer, students will act out a dialogue. And in level 1, we're talking like, you know, one short phrase and then another short phrase in a response. But it's all based on the same kind of language in the unit. Students are doing play acting in roles. They perform a story. And then it can build up to class play, doing a class play, which is kind of like involves all of the previous skills. But what we're doing is involving all aspects of our students in terms of the whole child, right? So students are using their bodies. There's the physical aspect of the whole child. And in Dora, in the workbook, students will do tracing and coloring activities related to the story. So there's that, you know, micro skills, gross motor skills, you know, all of that. And so students are kind of using their bodies, they're listening, they're engaging emotionally, right, with Dora, and that's related to their emotional and social development. Dora's a role model. She's always polite. She's brave. She overcomes challenges. She's a role model for students. And of course, there's the English language aspect as well. Did you notice holding hands and crossing the road? Be safe. It's helping students to, you know, function well in society in terms of their health and safety as well. So there's a lot going on here. We're not going to talk about it all, but it all combines into this package of teaching the whole child. So it's language, yes, but it's more than language. It's language. It's thinking about health and safety. It's using your body to express yourself. It's artistic skills like coloring, which I haven't shown you. And so we bring it all together. So thank you very much for your help there, Dora. You're welcome. Of course, she's very, very polite. And Kathy Camper says, I like to keep my puppet standing up in the classroom. I have some support. Yeah, I had some cardboard here, but I thought I would take it out off camera. And there's another, oh no, there's another blue parrot kind of somewhere behind me there, but just off screen. All right, so Andy, crossing the road, yes, okay. And it is things like washing your hands properly, and so there's hygiene, there's health, all of that. But today our main topic was really about using, getting students active, like Wriggle and Jiggle, but also how we kind of use stories. And so the key points are really, if you're showing an animated story, don't think that you're in control of it. Actually, you're Dora's assistant. That's the easiest way that I found to use these stories, because Dora always will look at the camera and tell you as a teacher when to pause and how to get your students engaged. Okay? So if there's one thing you're going to remember from this session, it's think about how you pause when you're showing videos. Don't pause to test, pause to engage. Okay? And I will end on that and just finish with our key takeaways. I've already given you the main takeaway. But so children have this natural energy, and we can always divert it to language learning opportunities. And there's a lot of in a story, you've got so many aspects of a story that students can engage with, right? In terms of language, characters, what's happening in the pictures, what they hear, and so on. We have lots of resources to help you. Now, if you're still teaching in a classroom, as you know, where I live, luckily we never had a lockdown. We haven't had COVID for 200 plus days, right? But we're lucky. Teachers can use classroom resources, but if you're teaching online, there's a classroom presentation tool. You can play the video to students through there. Okay, and yes, we always have to rethink, and I think it is always a bit harder teaching online, especially with younger children. But we can still do something, especially if we get our parents to support, or the students' parents. And again, that key point: balance letting learners enjoy the story with pausing to enhance their interaction with it. Okay, so thank you very, very much. I'm sorry that you saw double. All right, but you know, what can you do? We got through it, and everyone, thank you.